Nigeria Center for Disease Control confirms 1,270 new COVID-19 cases, raising the nation's tally to 102,601. National Identity Management Commission says you must still register even if your BVN had generated a national identity number. In international news, U.S. President Trump faces another impeachment vote in the House of Representatives for incitement of insurrection. Some Republicans joined the move. And in sport, NFF postpones Women League games over COVID-19.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has reported 1,270 new coronavirus infections in the country on Tuesday. As usual, Lagos posted the highest number at 435. Second place, Federal Capital Territory reports half of that number. Oyo posts 103 infections, while Plateau records 86 cases. 12 states recorded cases in the high to lower double digits, and 6 states posted low single digits. The health agency says 81,574 patients have been discharged, while the death toll stands at 1,373. A second wave of the coronavirus pandemic and the rising cases in the country are causing the federal government to review its curfew policy. National Coordinator of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Dr. Sani Aliyu, says the federal government is considering extending curfew hours as part of its response to the second wave of the pandemic. An 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew, which was later relaxed to 12 midnight to 4 a.m., was declared in April and is still in force. Aliyu said at a press conference on Monday that federal government was in talks with state governments to review the curfew. The PTF coordinator has asked vulnerable persons to stay at home, especially those who are older than 60 years and those with other morbidities. Aliyu said the decision for another lockdown is in the hands of, quote, all of us, the general public. He said as long as the general public abides by the protocols set up for the virus, there would be no need for another lockdown. Still on the coronavirus case, 60 workers on the Lagos-Ibadan railway project have tested positive for COVID-19. This was announced by the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, during an interview with journalists on Tuesday. Amechi said the railway project would have been inaugurated during the first week of the new year, but the plan was upended by the upsurge in the second wave. The minister said even though nobody has died, many people are putting in great sacrifice to get the rail project accomplished. But he said inauguration of the railway project would now happen when the virus has been curbed. And now to other news. The National Identification Management Commission says it does not matter if one's BVN had generated a national identity number. Everyone will still have to register. The Commission says the Nigerians must stay clear of a mobile app that is being run by fraudsters to harvest NIN and BVN numbers. It says the app was not created by the Commission. That mobile app was touted in reports as having been launched by NIMC, and that it could be used to link 7 SIM cards to one NIN. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Issa Pantami, said on a television program the Commission has not launched any app. He advised Nigerians to protect their data and never to disclose personal information to unauthorized persons or platforms. Although Nigeria has experienced some economic stress as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and global business slowdowns, the International Monetary Fund reports the country is still Africa's largest economy. Correspondent Kelechi Mekalam has the details.
The IMF ranking is based on nominal GDPs of countries' estimates from financial institutions. They are calculated at market or government-approved exchange rates. Nigeria earned the #1 spot in Africa and 26th worldwide with its GDP of about $443 million. Though it puts the West African nation at a vantage position, experts say it's a subpar feat.
Investors across the globe will consider countries where they want to pool their monies. So when we talk about the strength of a country, they are not just going to consider the population. They also want to consider the size of the economy. The larger the size, it is expected that the economy will attract more investment for the country. Nigeria should attract investment in the coming period, and I think in 2020 we should have experienced that, but for COVID.
If we didn't perform well, we're supposed to be the 20th. And if we had done a quarter of the things that were embodied in the Vision 2020 document, I bet you we will have been between the 10th and 15th biggest economy in the world. For instance, we have very much improved our infrastructure. We have made ourselves very, very competitive trade-wise in terms of production of goods and services, that we will have positioned ourselves in a very good area to compete now that we have the African Free Trade Continental Area.
Nigeria's GDP contracted by -3.62% in the third quarter of 2020. The recession's been fueled by a raft of issues, including the fall in oil prices, trade imbalance, and economic disruptions caused by COVID-19.
All we need to do right now is to reorder our priorities. The music has changed, so we can't continue dancing to the old step. One is that we are not making enough revenue. Two is that the little we have is not properly managed. Secondly, we need to block loopholes.
In the short term, government needs to support small businesses so that pressure that we have on prices will significantly reduce. Number two, what government should do as a matter of medium term is to partner with private sector. With public-private partnership, government can conserve revenue. But the third and the most important, which is the long term, which I think government should start to lay foundation for today, is contained on this of doing business, is also contained in National Economic Development Plan.
It's not yet a huru for Africa's largest economy. More than 40% of the country's population is still poor. The IMF advises Nigeria to implement transformative domestic reforms to promote resilience to economic shocks. That includes revenue mobilization, digitalization, and fostering transparency in governance. A move that could see Nigeria taking a leading position beyond nominal GDP.
Coming up, African stories. Egypt and Qatar bury the hatchet, reconcile and reopen diplomatic ties after a 3-year rift. And later, international news. U.S. President Trump faces another impeachment vote in the House of Representatives for incitement of insurrection.
You are watching it.
Welcome back. This is in the news. For some time now, it had seemed as though the story of the war in Ethiopia's Tigray region had died down. But much has been happening in the background. The Ethiopian Army has announced the arrest of leaders of the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Correspondent Girum Chale reports.
The top TPLF leadership, including its founder Sabat Nega, seen here handcuffed, were apprehended in central Tigray's rugged terrain. Also seen here are 8 other former top office holders arrested, such as the ex-regional council speaker, former Ethiopian ambassador to Sudan, and bureau heads of the regional state.
As per the orders given to us, we have been executing the job of hunting down these criminals 24/7. As per the information we got from people here, we have finally managed to arrest them. The place where we have found them is difficult for people to survive.
This is seen as a major milestone in the efforts of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government to wrap up what it has called a law and order enforcement mission in the region. It's also an important step in plans to bring the TPLF leadership accused of orchestrating the deadly attack on the National Defense Force Northern Command base to justice. The army has said that the hunt targeting the former president of the regional administration, Debretsion Gebremikhail, continues.
The people of Tigray have no more allegiance with these people. People are tired of the TPLF leadership and do not want to cooperate with them. Besides that, people around here have been pretty much cooperative with us by delivering valuable information to our members daily.
On the other hand, Tigray remains by and large peaceful, and people are leading their daily lives normally in different parts of the region. Many, including organizations like the UN, are vocal about the humanitarian situation in the northern territory of Ethiopia. They say there are places that are inaccessible due to ongoing conflicts in some pockets. The government is of a different opinion, however. It maintains that the delivery of relief services, repatriation work and rehabilitation programs are all going on smoothly.
After a 3-year rift, Egypt and Qatar have decided to bury their hatchet, reconcile and reopen diplomatic ties. The agreement was formalized on Tuesday in Saudi Arabia during the Gulf Cooperation Council's 41st summit. Respondent Adi El Marouki reports.
By signing the agreement in Al-Ula, Saudi Arabia, Egypt and all Gulf Cooperation Council states marked a new beginning in their ties with Qatar. They were divided over conflicts like Yemen, Syria or relations with Iran, but the biggest difference they had was in Libya. There are indications that even the tension between Arab nations and Turkey may soon fade away. Ankara, the biggest regional military player in Libya, has been releasing statements recently hinting to open communication with Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Turkey and Qatar both support the government of national accord in Tripoli, while the rest of the players in the Gulf diplomatic rift support the Eastern politicians.
I
am both optimistic and pessimistic. These are positive developments, but Libya could become a battle zone for these Arab nations to settle their differences. Don't forget, this is a proxy war, and before 2017, there was no diplomatic rift in the Gulf, yet Libya was still torn apart.
The new year has so far seen the Libyan peace talks progress well. Libyans have accepted a UN proposal to send non-armed monitors to Sirte to help in stabilizing the current ceasefire. Regional politics in the Middle East appear to be set for the first time in years to support progress in Libya. Nations are settling some of their disputes, pushing for stability in the region. All what Libya needs now is for rival factions to end the conflict and pave the road for an elected authority.
Hospitals in South Africa's Western Cape province are facing severe capacity constraints as COVID-19 resurgence overwhelm the medical operations there. Correspondent Rainy Del Carme reports.
Far higher than expected. That's how South Africa's National Health Minister has described the number of COVID-19 cases in the Western Cape. Over 200,000 people in this province have so far been infected, and more than 7,000 have been killed by the virus.
With the second wave, the patients are a lot more sicker. There's more of them coming in to be admitted, to be referred, to be treated. We've seen a lot more positive cases with the second wave. This is a high-risk zone for COVID infection. We're doing the best that we can. There's COVID everywhere.
We are seeing more patients needing admission and referral to ICUs. We are also seeing, oddly enough, a younger population that actually comes in quite sick that we did not see during the first wave.
Hundreds of new beds, as well as triage facilities, have been brought online at field hospitals and functioning hospitals across the Western Cape. And the Provincial Health Minister welcomed additional staff here at the Westville District Hospital, which treats both urban and rural communities.
They have added additional staff. There's a new layer of staff, which is the ward assistants. It's a people that they are appointed from the NGOs, the NPOs, to be able to assist on the non-invasive, non-professional kind of the activities. For example, in terms of assisting with bathing, assisting with making the patient comfortable and all of those, so that the nurses and the doctors and others who are the health professionals could be able to focus on that.
Nurses, doctors and other healthcare workers here in the Western Cape have welcomed news that the South African government has secured 1.5 million vaccines from India, which it plans to roll out to frontline healthcare workers over the next 2 months.
I'm looking forward to getting my shot. We are excited and we hope that the promise is kept. Because I think we are in the front line. We are usually first in line to be exposed to a positive patient. So it's quite important that we be immunized in the hope that it will roll out to the entire country at some point.
For now, local officials are still working hard to get the message of social distancing across.
Keep 1.5 meters apart, cover your cough, and if you are sick, stay at home. Together, we can fight.
When we return, international news. U.S. President Trump faces another impeachment vote in the House of Representatives for incitement of insurrection. Some Republicans joined the move. And later, sport. NFF postpones Women League games.
You are watching ANN. Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The United States House of Representatives is debating at this hour the incitement of insurrection charge against President Donald Trump in a move towards an imminent historic second impeachment. As it stands, House Democrats and at least a handful of Republicans are ready to hand the president another impeachment as he gets ready to end his presidency in just 8 days. Although 5 Republicans have publicly said they would vote to impeach, as many as 20 may follow suit. Number 3 House Republican Ms. Cheney announced yesterday she would vote in favor of impeachment. She called the Capitol invasion a greater betrayal by a president of the United States of his office and his oath to the Constitution. The single impeachment article points to Trump's repeated false claims that he won the election and his speech to the crowd last week before the rioters breached the Capitol. The impeachment resolution also cited the Constitution's 14th Amendment, noting that it prohibits any person who has engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States from holding office. California is transforming baseball stadiums, fairgrounds, and even a Disneyland resort parking lot into mass vaccination sites as the coronavirus surge overwhelms hospitals and sets a deadly new record in the state. Johns Hopkins University says California's COVID-19 death toll had reached 30,000 on Monday. It took 6 months for the nation's most populous states to reach 10,000 deaths, but barely a month to jump from 20,000 to 30,000 deaths. California ranks third nationally for COVID-19 related deaths, behind Texas and New York, which is number one with nearly 40,000. Public health officials estimate at least 12% of those who get infected will require hospital care. Governor Gavin Newsom and public health officials are counting on widespread vaccinations to help stem the tide of new infections, starting with medical workers and the most vulnerable elderly, such as those in care homes. Orange County, south of Los Angeles County, announced its first mass vaccination site would be a Disneyland resort parking lot. It's one of 5 sites to be set up to vaccinate thousands of people daily. The European Medicine Agency says AstraZeneca and Oxford University have submitted an application for their COVID-19 vaccine to be licensed across the 27-nation European Union. The EU regulator says the request could be approved by the end of the month. The drugs agency for the 27-nation EU has already approved 2 other coronavirus vaccines, one made by American drug maker Pfizer and Germany's BioNTech, and another made by U.S. biotechnology company Moderna. Switzerland approved the Moderna vaccine on Tuesday and plans to immunize about 4% of its population using Moderna and the Pfizer-BioNTech shots. The EU says it had concluded early talks with French biotech company Valneva to secure up to 60 million vaccine doses. The Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is expected to be key for many countries because of its low cost, availability, and ease of use. It can be kept in refrigerators rather than the ultra-cold storage that the Pfizer vaccine requires. Lebanese authorities say they will enforce an 11-day curfew effective Thursday because the country's fragile health system is getting overwhelmed. With few exemptions, people will be forbidden from leaving their homes. They will be unable to shop in supermarkets and will need to rely on deliveries. The airports will remain open, but numbers of passengers will be reduced. Despite a rise in the number of new cases, the government relaxed restrictions ahead of Christmas and New Year, hoping to boost the country's crumbling economy. Health officials said this has now led to a dramatic spike in infections. Lebanon, with a population of 6 million, has reported more than 222,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and more than 1,600 deaths since the start of the pandemic. In the past week alone, more than 30,000 persons have tested positive. 117 have died. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has officially declared he is seeking a second 5-year term. Guterres, whose current term ends at the end of the year, said in a letter to UN General Assembly President Volkan Bozkır, quote, "It would be my honor to continue to serve the organization in pursuing its purposes and fulfilling its noble objectives," end quote. A Portuguese former prime minister and UN refugee chief was elected by the 193-member assembly to succeed Ban Ki-moon after a hotly contested and transparent race in 2016. Guterres took office in 2017. Up next, sport. NFF postpones Women League games over COVID-19. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow the story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News in Sport. Nigeria Football Federation has postponed the Women League games. Week 5 matches of the Nigeria Women Premier League has been rescheduled by 1 week because of the inability of all the 14 NWFL Premiership clubs to meet up with the directives on COVID-19 tests for players and team officials. President of the Nigeria Women Football League, Aisha Falade, said the postponement was to accommodate collation and validation of COVID-19 tests being conducted by the clubs. Formula One has announced the return of Imola to the 2021 calendar after being forced to postpone races in Australia and China. F1 issued an updated version of the 2021 calendar on Tuesday morning, confirming Imola will host the second round of the season in April. The former host track of the San Marino Grand Prix staged its first F1 race in 14 years last November. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.